Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so pleased to be here today with Lieutenant Colonel Snow, who's the CTO at Afworks at the Air Force. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Rhonda. I'm just super excited to be here. So many interesting things happening in the technology space today, and the topic around advancing humanity is something that I'm passionate about. So I'm just delighted to share some of the things we've been working on.
Well, we know that you're on the road, and so I'd love for you to dive in and share with us some of the latest, greatest cutting edge technology that you've been using to serve our country.
Thanks for asking. So a little bit about Afworks. We were set up as an innovation arm for the United States Air Force, but we work across different spaces. So any of the services can come in and partner with us on cross-cutting collaborative solutions that benefit not just the US government and the military, but also whole of society. Many people don't realize that with the military, 80% of the work that we do up front is all about not having to go to war to begin with. And a lot of the technologies that spin out of this drive those positive changes for society writ large. One of the efforts we had this year that I'm really proud of was called Base of the Future. Base of the Future was built after we lost Tyndall Air Force Base in a hurricane, a Category 5 hurricane. Majority of the infrastructure, about 40% of the infrastructure was lost. Majority of the buildings were lost. Thankfully, everybody was safely evacuated and we didn't have any injuries or any deaths, but the base was gone. So as we started to look at rebuilding, we thought, let's not just rebuild it, let's build it better. And then in doing that, what kinds of technologies coming out of those efforts could really be leveraged to benefit a lot of our work overseas as well as stateside. One of the first companies we started teaming with, actually there were several that came in, they are 3D printing houses. The reason I'm so excited about this is it's not just 3D printing homes, it's 3D printing facilities. And this means you can use local materials, so the soil where you're at, they have soil scientists that will come in and register that. At the same time, you're building these homes or you're building these facilities. They're environmentally sound and smart. They will withstand hurricane force winds. You can structure them in all kinds of really innovative designs to enhance their efficiency, to scale the footprint appropriately, and they're super affordable. They built, one company that we worked with built 250 home communities in Mexico in just about a month. And it was amazing because these homes now will withstand floods, will withstand hurricane force winds, and people have beautiful homes that they and their family can move into. When we look at places like Puerto Rico that have been dealing with a lot of the devastation from different storms coming through time and time again, and people have lost their homes and there's a lot of poverty there, for the first time, we can give them a home that will keep them safe in the storm, will give them a place to be permanently and to grow their families. And having that safe place to start with is the foundation for everything else that follows. So this was one of the outcomes that we were super proud of. Another one was actually around artificial intelligence and the challenge of privacy. Many of the artificial intelligence programs that are out there, people are concerned about because they don't want to have that eye in the sky constantly watching them and tracking what they're doing. And it's really an invasion of privacy. And in particular, when you're talking about dealing with active shooters. I know we had the active shooters in Florida. We've had some around the schools. And so we didn't want to have an artificial intelligence solution that was involved in tracking students or involved in tracking the faces of people that might be at a club or that might be out with their family. So what we did was we worked with a team and they designed an artificial intelligence solution that specifically looks for weapons. It doesn't look at faces and it doesn't track people at all. It will just look for weapons and alert security forces. At the same time, it can send an alert out on the phones through the emergency broadcast system and notify people where an active shooter is so that they can move in a direction away from it while security is moving towards the threat. So this was something that we got very excited about. It answered a lot of the questions and the concerns that we've been hearing from the public. And the reason these technologies are coming into play are because Afworks is a public space. We have a digital public space and a physical public space in DC, in Vegas, and also in Austin. People can come in alongside of the military, join us in solving some of these tough challenges, and you don't have to have a clearance. And you can, our youngest participants have been as young as 13, and our oldest have been in their 80s. And so you have a diversity of perspective, a diversity of experience, and these amazing ideas that people normally would not think about. Another example that we were working on, and this was for Iraq, we had a number of new communities that were going in as we were transitioning the population to new settlement areas. The challenge here was we had insurgents that were going in and actually placing explosive devices in the walls, and families, as they were attempting to move into the homes, were getting injured or killed. We didn't have enough robots or dogs to go through with the Iraqi teams to clear all the facilities. So we needed to find a solution fast. One of the solutions that came up was because we brought together a public forum. We had a young man there, and in the middle of all these discussions, brainstorming, how can we find something affordable and unique and incredible that will really help, that we can get them now? He looked up and he said, bubbles. And what do you mean about that? You know, what do you mean? Bubbles. He goes, if they're using passive IR, which senses motion or senses heat, we can send hot sudsy bubbles into all of these spaces. Well, we tried it. We actually put a bubble machine on a remote control car and it worked. And so for the first time, for about $40, you could send these bubble machines into a space and it would set off, if there was a device in there, safely. It only cost you $40. Nobody's lives were at risk. None of the dogs were at risk. And the people were able to confidently and safely move into their new homes. So these are some of the areas that we've been looking at from the perspective of how can we positively impact the field for people, for society here in the United States, but also overseas. One of the other areas that we looked at were augmented reality and virtual reality solutions. And in this case, it's not just for training, it's to be able to empathize and experience what others are living through. So there's a company that we talked to in this space that has been dealing with underrepresented narratives. And this is something that was really beautiful to me. Not having experienced certain types of discrimination, I didn't know what that felt like to walk into a room and to not be seen because of the color of your skin. That was shocking. They have a program that allows you to step into somebody else's world that is experiencing that, so you can empathize and you can feel what that feels like. That was powerful. That puts everything into perspective and helps you to understand, wow, somebody that I work with feels like this. So with General Brown in place now, we're taking diversity very, very seriously and really making some big strides. Another team that we've worked with is called Bias Inc. Michelle Ruiz and her team, and we've been talking with them most recently. I'm super excited about what they're doing around bias. In this particular case, they provide you a tool to identify your individual bias and then identify organizational bias and give you the solutions, the tools that you need to overcome your own bias. It's not subjective, it's not judgmental. It's teaching us how to be our best selves. And that's something else that we're really excited about exploring more of. So this is how we get after the airman empowerment piece, taking care of our people.
Wow, those are such inspiring examples. And I love the technology that you're using, from 3D printing to augmented reality. And one of the great things about innovation and ingenuity coming from the military and the government is that you do have a higher purpose. And so the fact that you're incorporating ethics into the way you use AI is really an example for the private sector as well. And so tell me, before I know you have to run, I would like to just touch a little bit more on the diversity issue, being a woman in tech as well. Again, these are in the government, we hold certain values, and including diversity paramount. And still, we're all working towards meeting that ideal and getting to goals, and even in terms of contracting and having that diversity of thought funneling into the leadership.
So please tell me, what's some advice that you have for people who are women and minorities that are in technology, that are in government, perhaps from your personal perspective? And tell me, right now, you're exactly right. This is top of mind, anything D&I. So I'm glad that you brought up some of the programs that you're using and how you're leveraging technology in that regard.
Yeah.
I would love to, of course, learn more about that. I'm sure that Silicon Harlem would love to be one of your open house locations.
That would be fantastic.
I didn't hear
Yes.
you say New York, so hopefully we can think about that later.
Yeah.
But in
That would be
closing,
amazing.
wouldn't that be great? And they already
Yes.
have, they already have the infrastructure here for you. So I can see that partnership coming
I
down.
love it. I love it. Yes, we
So
should definitely talk about that.
yeah, I'm sure that that Clayton and Bruce would be more than happy to. So in closing, I know that your time is limited. Please just give us a few nuggets on how you've been able to rise to such an incredible leadership position in the government, in the world, globally. I know I can imagine how rewarding this is, and let us know really what inspires you from day to day, because I think that you're a role model and an inspiration to so many. And we can definitely use some advice while we have you here for a few minutes.
Thanks so much, Rhonda. I've been really fortunate. My time in the Air Force has been fantastic. I've got 18 years in, and one of the biggest lessons I learned was nobody ever told me I couldn't do it. I had to prove to them that I couldn't do it. And my grandmothers were an inspiration for me growing up. Both of them were fierce, fierce ladies. One was Irish, one was Scottish. They came through Ellis Island, and they taught me never quit, work harder than everybody else. Doesn't matter what other people think. And if you want to do it, go do it. And they've been right on every count. And I've been so fortunate in my career to have incredible mentors, and also to be able to mentor others that I've learned from in the process of mentoring them. I would say if you're in government and you're coming up through the ranks, find mentors in government, but also externally, because I've got private sector mentors too, men and women that are amazing. Every day they challenge me, they inspire me. And if I hadn't been brave enough to reach out and say, hey, I really like what you're doing, I want to learn more, and ask for a bit of their time, they probably wouldn't have done it. So I would just encourage everybody, find a mentor, find somebody that you admire, learn as much as you can about them, and then reach out to them and say, look, I really like what you're doing. I want to learn more. Do you have time to mentor me? And set up a reoccurring appointment to do that, but also take time to mentor those that are your peers or that are coming up behind you, because it matters. And the experiences that you have may change somebody else's life just by having that conversation. So I would really say focus on that. And then the reason I think Afworks has been so successful is because we have a diverse ecosystem. You come as you are. We've had conscientious objectors that have come in to team up with us because they want to help where we're doing, the 3D printing of facilities or buildings overseas. They want to help where we're creating education programs or medical programs. They're very specific. They don't want to be part of anything that has to do with warfare. And we do have innovation around that too, because unfortunately that's part of our business. But the best part is everybody's able to come as they are, and everybody has something that's valuable to share. Don't ever forget that. That's the biggest thing. Everybody has something that's unique to them to share. And you never know when that person, that quiet person in the corner, might just speak up and say something like bubbles that saves so many lives.
Well, thank you for those invaluable nuggets. And again, we do hope to see you in person when we can convene in person. I wish you a great afternoon and bid you farewell. Thank you very much, Lieutenant.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate everything.